G'day folks, just heading off on a little overnight camping trip. Had a notion that I wanted to go and try out a little swimming hole here in the Diagula. It's somewhere I've been before, but last time I went it had been fairly dry, not a lot of rain, so it was quite shallow, a lot of dry patches in the creek. So I'm hoping this time, after all the rain we've had, that it's going to be a little bit more full, a little bit more flowing. Overall, the hike itself is only going to be about 6-7 k's, so nothing too crazy, but a good half to 2/3 of that is off trail, going over a pretty gnarly set of hills. Last time I did this trip, I think it took me 4 to 5 hours. I'm hoping to speed that up a bit today, because last time was in the middle of a longer trip, so I'd already done 20 k's for the 2 days before, so I was a bit knackered by the time I got to this one. So I'm hoping this will be a little bit quicker this time around. I have set myself a little challenge for this trip. Normally if I do a day hike, I still pack my bag as though I'm gonna be ending up needing to spend the night out, so I take a few bits of kit to make sure that if something went wrong, I'd be reasonably comfortable for the night. But as with all these things, it's great in theory, but I've never actually tested it. So for this trip, I figured bugger it, why not? So I've pretty much packed my bag as though I'm doing a day hike, barring one little quality of life thing that I've added. I'll show you that later. But yeah, so pretty much carrying my day hike gear and going to spend the night out and see how uncomfortable it gets. But yeah, once I get to camp, I'll pull that gear out and give you a look at what I've packed for myself. This fella sitting on the trail. Gonna go past as quietly and calmly as we can. Leave you to it, buddy. See you, mate. Another local here on the side of the track. Same as the last one, we're going to give you plenty of space, buddy. This is where the adventure really starts. I've done the on-trail section, so that's taken me about an hour, and now it's time to just slog up the mountain off the trail. The next step is I think it's about 150 meters elevation in about half a k. With all the rain, it's looking fairly overgrown through here, so I'm expecting it to be a bit of a slog. But once we hit the top of this hill, then it's all downhill until we hit the creek and campsite. Made much better time to the top of the hill there than I thought I would. Only took me about 25 minutes. So yeah, that's really great. So I'm now on the way, crossing this saddle between the two peaks. It's about a northwesterly direction. Then when I hit the other peak, it'll be time to turn pretty much due west and follow the ridge line down to the creek. It's definitely fairly overgrown through here, a lot of lantana, but so far I'm making pretty good progress. A little bit of rain again, which has cooled things off nicely, which I'm happy about. Just keep plodding along and check in again soon. So typical Queensland. It started raining pretty heavily a minute ago, or 15 or so minutes ago. So I stopped and put my poncho on, and of course it's pretty much stopped raining and the sun's come back out. So just taking this opportunity to have a quick breather, a bit of water. I think I've come a little bit far east. I've just taken myself a little bit too far. Need to pull myself back a little and yeah, head a bit more southeast to get back on the trail where I want to be. But as it is, I'm just going to have a bit of a breather, some water, and put this bloody poncho back away. It's been about an hour since I made the initial peak before turning east. Been heading fairly steadily east now for a while, and this ridge line should start curving east-southeast down to the campsite. So I've got roughly about 1 kilometre of travel left as the crow flies, but because this is where it's going to start getting steep, I'm expecting that to take me quite a while. A few sections were really overgrown. Where I am now is pretty good. It's not too much lantana, it's fairly clear. So I'm hoping that the rest of this ridgeline stays like that, and it's just the angle of the hill that ends up being a problem for me rather than having to beat through more undergrowth. And after all of that, looks like I took the wrong ridge. I think I've actually ended up a little bit east of where I should have. There was a point where I should have turned southeast, apparently much earlier than I did. So rather than coming down this ridge just up here, I should have been coming down a ridge over that way. But anyway, I've hit the creek line. So now I know that if I head broadly west along the creek line, I will come to the campsite. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. And yeah, hopefully it won't be too much longer. Right, here we are, South Cobble Bush Camp. Finally made it. Yeah, I missed my ridgeline somewhere along the way and ended up a little bit far east, so I had to follow the creek line back in. But no biggie, we got here in the end. It's fairly damp here. Most of the ground's pretty soaked, so it's going to be interesting to see how we go. Biggest worry right now is I've got a couple of hours to try and get my clothes a little bit dry because I'm relying on them to keep me warm tonight. I haven't brought a sleeping bag or anything like that. We'll go through that when I show you my kit in a minute. But right now I need to go and get some water filtered and have a bit of a relax. Might go and hit the creek, do a little bit of golem action, and then yeah, come back here and set up, ready for bed. Clothing on the makeshift washing line, so you're gonna get shoulders up shots for a little while. I'm desperately hoping to get them as dry as possible for night time because I'm relying on them to keep me warm. I do have some other things and I'll go over that in a minute. Yeah, camp's up, water's filtering in the where is it, in the background there. So hopefully we get a couple of litres soon. But yeah, I promised I'd take you through what I bring on a day hike and what I'm relying on to get through the night tonight. So this pretty much is my day-to-day, what I would take on a decent day hike. You know, obviously if it's an hour in and back, kind of a quick one, I wouldn't bother with all of this. But if I'm going somewhere where I know there's a chance that something could go wrong, or just I always pack with the idea that I might have to spend a night out. My basic idea is built on Dave Canterbury's 5 C's of survival. So for everything you want a cutting tool, a method of combustion or fire lighting, cordage, a container for boiling water, cooking in, and some sort of cover to keep you sheltered. So that's this side. These 5 items here, that's those. And then over here are incidentals and other essentials. First up, container of some sort. Something that you can cook in, boil water, worst comes to worst. I know on this trip I've got a water filter, but at the very minimum I'd bring something that I can boil water in. This case I've just brought my jet boil. It's simple, it's reliable. I'm in a national park so I can't have a fire. So I'm just relying on gas. Like I say, I'm not relying on this for water boiling unless something goes wrong with the water filter on this trip. But still, it's good to have it and it'll be good for when I'm on a cuppa. Number 2, cordage. Setting up your shelter, the washing line I've got back there. It's just always handy if you need to repair a backpack or something. Some sort of cordage, something that you can use to tie up and keep yourself covered is handy. Next up, little fire kit. This is a Firebox Nano twig stove. Again, not something I can use as a matter of course in a national park, but if something goes wrong, I want the ability to get myself a fire going if I really need it. So this doesn't take up much space. I've got some fire lighters, some tinder, a ferrocerium rod, a lighter and matches in there. So it's just a self-contained fire kit, just in case I need it. Next thing I always have on me is some sort of a cutting tool, be it a knife. I mean, this Leatherman, they're just handy to have. You've got a saw, you've got a knife, you've got all sorts of tools on there. Again, national park, so it's not something you're going to be using day in, day out unless something goes wrong. But if something goes wrong, you're going to be glad of it. Next up is my shelter or cover. This is a Drifter Light 5-in-1 poncho by Jack Stillman. Don't be fooled by the name. It's only light compared to their other ponchos, which are much heavier. It's big, it's bulky, but it's a good raincoat. It's got tie-out points so I can use it as a shelter, which I'll show you a little bit later. And just in that, I always throw one of these Mylar blankets just as a ground sheet in there. so that, yeah, I've got myself a shelter, and if I need to, I can wrap myself in the mylar blanket, use it to keep myself warm, but I'm hoping to be able to just use it as a ground sheet at the minute. Something I always have on my belt is my little critter kit. So in here there are snakebite bandages, there's a tick remover, there's salt to deal with leeches, and just a couple of band-aids. So on pretty much all of my hikes, I put this on my belt. It's not a full first aid kit, so on this trip, because I know I'm going deeper into the bush, I'm going a bit further from help, I bring a full first aid kit that has, a few other things, bandages, band-aids, pretty much all the kind of thing you need in a first aid kit. But on most of my hikes, if I'm not going too far, or if, I know I'm within help easily, then I just bring the critter kit. Got brew kit and lunchbox. Some variation of that I always bring. The brew kit, in there I've got coffee, tea, oxo cubes, just for a nice electrolyte drink, a bit of broth, keep you going on the trail. And then lunchbox, on this one I've just got a couple of muesli bars and a sandwich for today. Map, compass. Again, depending on the, and here in southeast Queensland, we've got a lot of really nice hikes that have well-defined trails you're not going to get lost on. But anytime I come into a national park like this, especially when I'm going off trail, obviously, map, topographic map and compass to keep you on the right track. Last two things worth mentioning that are pretty much always with me on a hike: GPS beacon, tracker, and a torch. Again, maybe the torch doesn't always come because I'm leaving early in the morning and I'm planning to be home by midday, but it takes up so little space, I normally throw it in the pocket just in case. Same with this, depends on if I know where I'm going is going to have phone reception, I may not bother, but as a general rule, anytime I'm going off trail, somewhere where I know reception's going to be scarce, I bring this along just in case. And I did say I'd brought one little quality of life item that normally wouldn't go in my hiking kit, so cheers. But yeah, basically that's my gear for the night. Obviously no sleeping bag or blanket or anything like that, because that's just one step too far. In winter, I generally would pack a thermal underlayer, just some merino long johns and a shirt or something like that, just in case you get wet, in case you get cold. But in summer, southeast Queensland, we're not expecting it to go too much below 20 degrees tonight, so really I should be okay. Just desperately hoping that I can get my pants and shirt a little bit drier before I have to go to bed. I'm still a little underdressed to be showing you the full camp setup, so we might just go ahead and do one of these ones. And abracadabra, here we have tonight's home. I'll take you closer and give you a bit of a look inside. So here we are. Nice, crinkly, noisy mylar ground sheet, but should at least keep me dry, might keep me a little bit warm. My plan is basically to push my feet right down to the back there. So you can see it comes in a bit close, so it's a little bit like having a blanket at that end at least, and then just trying to use the mylar as a bit of a windbreak if I need it. But for the most part, the fact that I'm still a bit damp, I think I'm going to have a pretty ordinary night. But hopefully it rains tonight, because there's not really much point in trying out a shelter if there's nothing to shelter from, is there? On the whole though, pretty happy with that setup. Should be nice and cozy. It's just after 6 o'clock now, so I reckon I've got about another hour, half an hour to an hour of decent light, and then there's not really going to be much to do in camp, so I'll probably turn in for an early night. I suspect I'm going to need to get all the sleep I can because, yeah, I reckon I'm going to be tossing and turning all night with the setup I've got. But we'll see how we go. Cheers. Right, getting ready for bed. It's about 7:45, So I'm just winding down with a cup of soup, getting ready to turn in, because there's not really anything to do here sitting in the dark. Curious to see how we're going to go, because I'm still fairly damp. I mean, until the sun went down, I was just sweating bullets no matter what. So even if my clothes had been dry when I got here, they'd be wet by now again. We'll see how we go. I get the feeling it won't be a problem till the wee hours, but we'll see how we go once it gets a little bit chillier. Well, this is it, off to bed in my little mylar and ground sheet abode. Hopefully sleep all right, and I'll catch you guys in the morning. Good morning. It's about 5 a.m. First light starting to kick in. I'm gonna get ready to get up, make myself a coffee. Overall, not the world's best night's sleep. Ground was a bit too hard, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with the shelter. Like, I went to bed, all my clothes were damp, and between the mylar blanket here and the shelter over the top, I kept most of the warmth in, so it wasn't really cold. Just the ground was way too hard. But on the whole, I think it's proven the point. It works, and yeah, if I need to, I can spend a night out in it. Morning again. It's about 6:30 now. Had my coffee and some breakfast, and now I'm just I've pretty much packed up camp, but now I'm just going to go have a little bit of a hunt for a waterhole. There's a decent little one here just down from camp, but I don't think it's that deep, so I'm going to go and have a scout. But otherwise, I'm just going to head around that corner there. Just from memory, there's a couple of nice spots around that way. Otherwise, if this one looks all right, we'll just stay here and not overcomplicate things. And this is what I came for. Look at this. How good is this? This makes every stinking hot hour coming down that hillside worthwhile. I mean, yeah. What are the poor people doing, hey? What are the poor people doing? Righto, that's that. Camp all packed up. Had my dip, had my weekend. So yeah, it's off home. Probably not going to bother really filming much on the way back, because let's face it, filmed plenty of me walking yesterday. It's not going to be much more interesting than that. So yeah, unless something particularly of note or interest happens on the way, I think I will bid you good day. Thanks for coming along. I'll catch you next time.